temp this morning when I left home was 24 degrees. I'm looking up on the side of this mountain here, and there's snow on it. And it's supposed to be spring, but it isn't really spring yet. Starting out today up in a tributary, mostly because it's a nice launching point for me, nice easy access, but also because this is going to be one of the places these fish are going to pull up in the spring, and the biggest ones will always get there to the good spawning habitat first. It is early, but I think some of these big ones could make a jump up in here, be scouting out good, staking out good spawning habitat. If I don't get too many bites here pretty quickly, I'm going to move out to the main river and fish a known winter hole. But I got to give this a shot first. I'm right here. Oh, that's a good one. He got caught behind that rock. Oh yeah. That's a good start to the day up in this creek. I felt him on, and then he got stuck. And I thought, oh, I lost him, I snagged. And then, get in there, get in there. Oh, it felt good. I can see that boulder. We got real clear water in this creek. And yeah, that may be he might go 20. Oh, I think he does. Wow, suspending jerkbait just drifted into this fish's eddy, right by a big isolated boulder. Clear water. Let's see. Yep, 20 and an 1/8. That's a good one. The cornerstone of my DVD series is something I introduced in the first DVD I made, which is river kayak fishing skills, and that's pattern development. And the most important thing you can do for pattern development is when you catch a nice fish, you go back to the scene of the crime. And that's what we're going to do here, and make observations about that particular spot. We're going to go ahead and release this nice 20+ inch smallmouth that's up in this tributary, and then we're going to, I'm gonna stick my waterproof camera underwater, and we're gonna look and see what's down there, why this big fish was there. But before we even look underneath the surface, we can look upstream. We got a big log jam here that is deflecting current, and I can tell that this water right here is very slow just by looking at the foam bubbles here are very slow. Out there they're moving by not really fast because there's not a whole lot of current in this tributary, but it's definitely a big difference right here. Foam bubbles just sitting. So observation 1, a lot less current. All right, I'm gonna release this beautiful 20+ inch pre-spawn river smallmouth exactly where he was when he hit it, and we're gonna take a look and see what was down there. Not entirely sure how well it came out on film till I get home and edit. I can tell you my hands are cold. I'm putting my gloves back on. But what I can see by putting my polarized sunglasses back on, there's a big boulder right here. And I knew that when I was fighting that fish, I could feel that line seesawing across a rock. And he got behind it, and he was stuck behind it for probably 5 seconds before I was able to get him over. So huge rock on a current seam. There's about there's at least 5 feet, maybe 6, just on the back side of it, and right on the front of it there's a log cut in there. So our observations are immediately downstream from a log jam, on the inside of a current seam, not much current, 5 or 6 feet, big boulder, big log. So I tell you what I can do on the way out to the river is I'm going to try and replicate that by keeping an eye out for similar spots. Now, fishing these tributaries, particularly close to the mouth of them, this early in spring, isn't a real big numbers game, but you do get a crack at the biggest fish because they will arrive to the spawning habitat first. But you know, I've fished for a couple hours to get that one really nice fish, and that's what I was looking for. But I know where I can go out to a wintering hole and certainly get a lot more numbers. I know that because a buddy was out yesterday and got over 50 fish in one pool alone. So as much as I'd like to continue to swing for the fence here, you know, I already got my home run. I'm going to go out and, you know, have some fun with numbers. But sun coming at it is certainly going to help. You know, it's feeling good to me right now. I know that it's got to be warming these fish up when they and they'll do this, especially in areas like this. They'll pull up in the shallows and I mean, a lot of people that catch smallmouth know that they can change color. They're just like a chameleon. And I've seen them in the spring. They will, and I think they do it intentionally to warm up. They'll pull up shallow and they'll make themselves almost black, you know, and that dark, you know, that darker color, I think really absorbs the sun's heat quite a bit. I tell you, it wasn't bad up in that creek mouth, but once I get out into the main river here, that wind is howling. So anytime you find yourself not comfortable, whether you're hungry, thirsty, or cold, or whatever, you got to change it. Because I actually sat here a while and said, all right, I'm gonna just tough it out and see if the wind lets up, and really just found out that I'm not fishing patiently because I'm not comfortable. So get some good gear, like this is a Cocatat spray top, and it's gonna keep me comfortable so I can fish comfortably and be able to concentrate. All right, got one on the finesse jig and crawl right under the boat. One thing I'm trying to do to feel the bite with all this wind coming in is making short casts, almost right underneath the boat. The more line you have out, the more the wind catches that line. In between the gust of wind, one thing I'm doing is I'm trying to scout other areas like this one where there's a lot of foam collecting. When the wind's blowing, you can't see those spots, but in between those gusts, you can see these foam lanes. These fish are right underneath the foam lanes. Alright, that's about the 5th or 6th I've pulled from this spot, and they're all about this size. That's a nice, you know, 15-inch smallmouth, but that's kind of what happens in these winter holes later in the winter. Is the bigger ones move out, they get to the spawning sites first, and then you still have a lot of fish in the winter pools, but they thin out almost by size. You know, the big ones vacate, you still have some nicer, you know, 16, 17s left, and then they leave, and pretty soon your winter holes are not vacant, but there's not a whole lot left. So I think I'm gonna head back up into that creek mouth, fish it for a while. I may even run, you know, put the kayak on top of the vehicle and hit another creek mouth. So we'll see. I got my fill on getting numbers. Now I'm gonna go back and see if I can get another big one. Oh, he's a nice one. He isn't coming in yet. He's catching that current. Real nice whack. Yeah. It's on the 5-inch what's it?
Okay.
You get one, man? Nice.
Right back in there. Not the same size as that one, I believe. Maybe not quite.
This one is...
Good to know. We'll take this any day.
18 1/4. All right, there's someone else here that knows about creek mouths in the spring, early spring. He just nailed an 18. This one's 18 1/4. So big ones are here, getting ready to spawn, getting ready for the run upstream. See a fishy. That one hit a 5-inch wetsit on a 1/4 ounce dragon head, just sitting there. I pulled up here above a couple of these bridges here and I saw just deeper water, a lot of shallow water. The sun is warming up, but this was the first little spot where I had, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet. And I dropped that wetsit down in there, that soft plastic jerk on the 1/4 ounce dragon head, and you could feel it tumbling along the shallow, and then it just kind of free fall down into this trench right here, and it sat there, I don't know, 20-30 seconds before this one went dunk. So another nice fish near the creek mouth. That's a good fish. Oh, that's a beast. He may not be a bass. It's a carp. Hey, carpy. Carpy. And goodbye. All right, what I've drawn here is actually 2 different ways to represent where I caught my nicer fish today. And I call this the creek mouth pattern, and it's a good springtime pattern, especially when the river is high. The smallmouth will use creeks as spawning hubs. Now before they run up the stream a good ways, they all collect near the mouths of the creek, and this right here is the main river. Okay. You got like a little scrub island here right at the mouth, and here's the creek flowing down to the big river here. All right. Frequently, you'll start to get them at these sorts of spots right outside the mouth of the creek. Sometimes they'll be upstream, downstream. Especially, a lot of the creek mouths will deposit a scrub island there. They like hanging out around there. When the river's up, this current will be zooming by, and they'll get right on the current seam here, right at the mouth of it. And especially if there's a deeper area here, you get a lot of fish congregate there. And not just fish, a lot of waterfowl. I see muskies here at the creek mouth, a whole lot of minnows. There's just a whole lot going on at this intersection of a creek with the river. But as you move upstream, and there's a reason I wrote this, I illustrated it this way, and this is the depth. This is the the water surface here, and then this is the bottom. And the place that I found it today was, let's see, here's the creek mouth here. It's fairly deep here. As you move up, it changes in how deep it is, but the spot where I found it was the first example of deep water. As you move downstream from, this is fairly fast flowing water here, shallow and fast. And that first example of deep water, all the way up into the creek as far as you can go. Fast, 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 and then slow down because you have that depth. That's a real sweet spot in these creek mouths. This one happened to be behind a big log jam here, and that log jam created a nice current break. It was sweeping out there. We had a nice boulder right on that current seam, so that broke it up even a little bit more. and he was just on the inside of that. But overall, whenever I will go and fish a new creek mouth or a new creek, new tributary, I'll look for 3 distinct spots. These scrub islands at the mouth, just on the downstream side, and sometimes upstream. The current seam right at the creek mouth itself, and then as it transitions, this will back up a lot when the river comes up, and this is all lake-like, backed up, but right at that point where it changes from a flowing stream, to lake-like, and especially when you have that first drop-off, that's your sweet spot. So 3 good places to take advantage of, the creek mouth pattern in the springtime for river smallmouth. Feel like you've learned a lot about what you just watched? It's only the tip of the iceberg. This is my DVD set, all about catching river smallmouth. This first one is basically a video version of the class that I taught on the water for years, called River Kayak Fishing Skills. The next 3 are seasonal tactics DVDs for river smallmouth. Summer, fall, and winter. This one's 2 hours long. This one's almost 2 hours long. A whole lot of information on how to catch these fish. And I'm currently working on a spring DVD as well. For the DVD series, I recruited a couple experts, Chris Gorsuch and Juan Varut, and they helped me teach a lot of these critical concepts for river smallmouth fishing. So if you want to learn some more, get a copy of some of my DVDs available at confidencebaits.net.